It's a pandemic. And I think it's mostly because people are unhappy, people are confused, people are culturally washed up.
Welcome to the Global Indian Podcast, the world's greatest journey and the official platform for people of Indian origin. Because let's face it, we are everywhere. Welcome back to The Voice. This is Season 2, Episode 2, second part of the special with the incredible individual Hajra Khan. This podcast is jointly hosted by our Global Indian Ambassador, Rajesh Gopie, and has been supported by our dear friends at ShareMe.com, the app for all your beauty, fitness, and wellness needs. Now, you should know who I am because you listened to the first part of this. If not, a very brief detail. My name is Rajan Nazran, and I explore. For over a decade, I've traveled the globe, piecing together the kaleidoscope that is our community. I've been held hostage, faced Ebola, and met extraordinary individuals, often in destinations that would surprise you. In this season, I'm joined by my dear friends from around the globe as we take you on the voyage for the ears, as we plunge into the human experience of being a person of Indian origin, take a closer look at the countries we now call home, and tackle the big issues that we all need to know more about. This two-part special is a conversation with an incredible individual, a dear friend, and a living encyclopedia of inner strength. Hajra has always fought for what's right, and in this very candid discussion with her, she delves into the sides of the entertainment industry that we often overlook. Things including nepotism, casting couch, the Me Too movement, through to the impact of social media and trolling. Without a doubt, it's a very remarkable conversation, and it does provide a real insight into an industry that is much more than glitz, glamour, and glory. As always, you can find out more about the Global Indian series at the end of the podcast. Now, if you listen to this via Podbean, make sure you subscribe so that way you never miss a session. If you're via YouTube, again, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. That way you can keep up to date with everything that we're doing and also have a browse through the stories that we've done so far. I hope you enjoy this session.
And just move. Get up 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 and just.
Yeah. I suppose one thing that we said on the phone that I thought was especially pertinent for the audience to hear was the fact that there's a lot of actors who have gone through it, but they'll sit on the fence. At times when there's almost warmongering that we saw quite recently between the tensions between India and Pakistan, you had some actors that were kind of calling out for it. But when there's real big issues such as discrimination, when there's inequality, those same voices are deafeningly quiet. Why does that happen, in your opinion?
Because they have been at the beneficiary of a system for so long. And there's such an insecurity to think that bringing about a change would mean they would stop benefiting from that system, which is so small. It's such a fishbowl. Everybody is related to somebody, everybody is invested in somebody's interest, everybody is somebody's friends, or they're screwing somebody or whatever. It's a little fishbowl. So the system is so fragile. It's a house of cards. It's that they built it to benefit from it, where the people that they use are the actors, are the technicians. They made sure that they're insecure, that they're highly replaceable, that they're highly vulnerable. So they get to benefit from the system. So they get to call the shots. And none of these people. So when one of them is wronged, the system they were part of that they protected so well you're going to hear nothing. You're going to hear absolutely nothing. Because it wouldn't mean anything coming from one of them, and they don't want it to dismantle it.
So Hajra, essentially in a male-dominated society, a patriarchal society, of course, women are commodities there to be used and abused, obviously, and that
Absolutely.
does not preclude actresses.
Yeah.
So what would be the counter to that? I mean, here you are, despite all the struggles, here you are still trying to make it as an actress, trying to write films. So that is a success story that I see happening. You know, you're
Absolutely.
a strong woman,
I mean,
and I want to know what that is for other women out there who say, that woman Hajra, you know, she did it, and look at how she stands by what she believes. Is there a movement? I mean, we talked about the bad part or the dark side, but is there a group of young actors coming out and saying, women, saying, look, you know, we are part of the industry and we require protection? And that would be the first part of my question. And the second part is it then in any way taken up by any political kind of movement to say to people out there, look, we need protection and the industry needs to be looked at? Is that happening at all?
You know, that in an ideal world, if we had an idealistic government that would listen to people fairly, equally, progressively, not just as people, as an industry, even if it was selfish and it was through greedy means, even if they looked at it as an industry, wouldn't that be ideal situation to say, hey, we get to protect everybody in this industry so we can all benefit from it and you all get along, you all play nice, you all play well. Let's do something. Let's have a brand. Let's have films that go abroad that we're proud of. How about as a government, I tax you less because you're budding. You're in a. How about we fund you for this? How about we subsidize you for this? Like Canada does. Canada does that a lot, and we don't. And to think that we're already struggling and there's zero support from the government, that breeds a lot of criminal and shady behavior. So people can survive, and that's a sad place to come from, I think. So in an ideal world, it wouldn't be a political movement. It would be women writing more, women producing more, women telling stories that are organic, that are fun. A woman can be sexy. A woman can be a kick-ass, a badass at 60, which is why European cinema is far more progressive comparatively to anyone when it comes to female stories. Not even Hollywood. Is only in the past few years that Hollywood started giving women over 40 more roles or become more diverse. Still has a long way to go, but if we could start doing that as women, it's bigger than a movement because you're not politicizing it, you're humanizing it. People get to experience it. As a little girl, if I hadn't seen and looked up to my role models, I wouldn't be here where I am. If I didn't have somebody to show me that this is the system and this is me, and you know you can be different and there is a place for everybody, and you have to be truthful to yourself because it's hard, but that's the biggest win.
Right. But are there people, young people or other actresses contacting you? Is there any kind of camaraderie among women?
Yeah. I get a lot of thank you for what you say. Thank you for saying that. We were thinking that, but we couldn't say it. And it's amazing how you stand up for yourself and how different you are. I get that a lot, and that's really nice to be able to see somebody scared or insecure that if they say something, because you know the less women talk in the industry, the better it is for the men. If you don't have much of a voice.
But at the same token, though, you say that, and you are this social custodian. But I've seen some of the abuse that you've got online with that big speech that you did. You get some vile comments thrown at you from guys. And so, do you think that's the case that even as a woman, as a female actress, you think, I'd love to become an actress, but then you see some of the comments and you think, oh,
you're not just fighting on one end, Rajan. It's not just one. It's not just the industry and the problems within the men in that. It's the public as well.
Yeah.
It is the public that loves and enjoys trolling. It's a pandemic. And I think it's mostly because people are unhappy, people are confused, people are culturally washed up, people are historically confused, and they are frustrated, and they are so hypocritically balancing their lives and what they should be. And that is what is, to me, that's just a symptom of how much our governments have failed to educate their people.
I agree with you, Hajra. It feels like people who the frustration of their own lives manifest in anger and outbursts towards other people, and that's just something we never spoke about.
You know, the objectification of women, the very men who are on in the internet all day, hitting women up in their DMs are the very men who would criticize any woman, and women as well, unfortunately, do that, Rajan. It's not just men.
Hmm.
Women can be such trolls because they don't get to live the life that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And in her head, how she probably comforts herself is like, well, that's evil. What I'm doing is my life as I was taught is good. But they're on the internet. It's like, then get off the internet then. Maybe the internet isn't the place for you if you have a problem with what people wear, what they do. And that is also, I think, a distraction from them from the real social issues that they have. It's just the priorities are not in the right place, Rajan. And that's
Absolutely.
sad. It's just not in the right place. And I'm somebody who's known to clap back because I really don't care how much that affects my image if I don't. And I'll tell somebody, you're out of line, man. Get off my, just get a life. It's not this, it's just like, it's taking my time to tell you this, but somebody needs to tell you this maybe. I don't think your parents told you this. You're not supposed to be on the internet for those reasons. You don't like my page, you don't have to follow it. But
Yeah.
you don't get to tell me what to wear, what to say, what not to. And it's always over the most ridiculous things. Why Pakistani women wearing a skirt? It's because a skirt is worn all over the world, and that's somebody's personal choice. And that's when me being slightly politically woke on my social media comes in, because a lot of actors are like, oh, whoa, let's stay away from politics, let's stay away from those issues. We want to be neutral in all. We don't want to create a raft between our followers or anything. So I couldn't care less. It's like, yeah.
But I think it's a positive step in the right direction, because I know when we spoke as well, there's been we've had a bit of backlash. The fact that we mentioned, okay, we've got actors and actresses from Pakistan on board.
Yeah.
And the first question is, well, they're not global Indians. But well, the reality is that's not the case. It's people of the land, of those areas. Politics are best suited for politicians. They get paid for that. Everybody
Absolutely.
else is trying to live,
Yeah.
So therefore, once we stop kind of judging each other and putting each other in boxes and actually start opening up to that fact, then we start actually understanding there's a bit more to life than what we're shown. Like you've
A
got
lot
a great
more.
way of saying that.
A lot more. My first thing is, because I told you, especially as actors, you're an ambassador of peace. I mean, I just think that it's really scary if somebody's pro-war and they are affiliated with a government that is probably fascist. My first thing as citizen of my country, real patriotism would be if I stand up for the rights of people and I say no to war. I don't want people dying in my country or anywhere else. I don't want there to be any killing. I want the money to go to school, to healthcare, to education, which is what we need.
Hmm.
That to me is what a patriot should be saying. It should be saying no to all those things and yes to all the things that we can benefit from. That is something that a lot of us should be doing as artists, I think.
I was going to say, so your platform, so both of you two, are you almost, you're actors, you're screenwriters, you go out there, you're creators, but do you think the public see you as entertainers in which you're there to entertain them, or do you think that the public should be seeing you as people of your craft that's going out there, producing something, and actually sharing stories that can inspire and uplift? Now, what's that balancing line that you both have to face?
I think it's both. I don't know about Rajesh. For me, it's both. There is going to be a huge part of the audience that for them is just entertainment. And there's going to be a part of the audience for them it's more than entertainment. It's storytelling, it's education, it is enlightenment, it's almost social. And you'll be surprised how they, you know, overlap at times, both of that. Like, should it mean something, but is it fiction? And then it's like, it's just fiction, it's just entertainment. And then it's like, no, it means something more than that. This is metaphorical, this is groundbreaking, this is monumental what I've done with my work here. Hopefully this will change you. So, it's whatever.
It's a very different dynamic now with social media, because you knew very little of the life of an actor prior to this, because you'd give an interview or a magazine or a television show and that was it. You went back to your private life. Now it seems like people need to be distracted. So if they like you, then they feel you need to give them something. and you need to give them everything. You're answerable to them for some reason. You know, if you share a different political view from them, then it's as if you've betrayed them, and then they'll axe you and they'll stab you online. And so it's become a very
Cancel culture.
dangerous, yeah, it becomes a very dangerous territory for actors, because you really love acting, you love with the craft, but then there's a whole bunch of people who had nothing to do with your training, your sacrifice, your pain, and so forth, but then feel they're entitled to how you behave, what you say, when you say it, who you support. And I mean, I've often heard people say, "Oh, he's so arrogant," and I go, "But why are you calling me arrogant? I don't even know you." "Oh no, I saw you at some place and you didn't even smile." And I think, but I never
Exactly.
saw you. I
Exactly.
mean, what am I
Yeah.
supposed to smile at? Am I going to walk around the entire place smiling as if I'm living up to your idea of a star? And I just want to be a person. If I go out, I just want to have a drink or have a meal and be with the people I am. So I didn't look in your direction, and therefore I became arrogant. Therefore, I'm a this or a that. It's a dangerous, dangerous territory, and it's a bad
Very.
place for actors. And the other part is that other actors who come to be in acting, because that's exactly what they want to do. They want to be loved. They want to go out. They want to smile, and they want to be adored by everybody. And you know, I as an actor don't care too much about that. But then people are starting to heckle. They're starting to bully me into behaving in a certain way. And Ajra, I think that's probably your experience.
No, no, I totally agree with you. And I've always been like that. I was like, why are these people so overwhelmingly zooming in on my life, on anything that I post? It's just a post. I could do this with
Mm,
my family and friends. I think they would scroll. But why are these
mm,
people taking it so seriously? And it's so consuming. It's like and especially the selfie culture. You know, there's people who wouldn't even ask you to take a selfie. You could be on a plane, you could be in a restaurant, and immediately they would be taking your picture without your permission. And I think that's such an invasion of anybody's privacy. And
mhm.
also, it's so unfair and unrealistic to think that people should oblige to anybody all the time, and it's exhausting. And
Yes,
then
very
there's a divide.
exhausting.
I mean, it's so exhausting to think that somebody wouldn't give you a break and say, well, you're human, you did your job, your film was there. Of course, as entertainers, you do understand that people do like you and you're going to be polite and all, but some people really demand way too much of you. Way too much. And
It's a
there's
lot of
this, like Rajesh said,
emotional.
this cancel culture. I mean, I remember something very interesting Rani Mukherjee said. She said, I'm not on social media because I believe I come from the old school where people used to write letters to you, and those letters would be claimed to be in blood and they would be out of love. And if they liked you, they would send you those letters. Now anybody can come on your page and call you, you're a bitch and you're ridiculous and I hate your guts and fuck off or whatever. And you're like, you
Mhm,
don't even know me. You don't have to watch my films. You don't have to
mhm,
follow me. It's
mhm,
just ridiculous how what a con that is of social media, and you thought people would enjoy it more and just
mhm,
chill and relax and let people have
mhm.
whatever.
It's
The
it's a
cancel culture, I
place.
think,
It's a place to exercise a knee-jerk reaction, it seems, rather than something
the
thoughtful or considered.
overreaction, the
It's like
toxicity
just
of it
punch your fingers
is
and throw the phone
ridiculous.
aside. Yeah.
Yeah, really seriously, like their social media and how they take their pictures and what the lighting is and what time it should be posted and how it all works and the science behind it. And I just couldn't. I mean, it just it's supposed to be
How do you deal with that pressure? Do you ever feel actually enough is enough? I don't want to do this anymore. Because there's so many other things that you
yeah.
could do. There's so many other
That's
countries that you could go over to.
I mean, yeah, you get that. I get that a little too much. I think I'm somebody who likes traveling a lot, so I get that a lot. I do. Yeah, I do. I do.
Let's
I
let's go.
that top of my mind more than often.
Let's just go
More
back a
than
little
often.
bit about craft training. You know, we know how what's happening somewhat in the industry, but you went abroad and you trained. Let's talk about experience of an Asian Pakistani actress in a foreign country training. What's that like?
Studying, or when I took a break from my acting and I started writing. Writing saved me.
Mm. Did you study acting abroad in Ireland?
No, I didn't. I was what they call a natural.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my studies was always coming from films, watching people, reading books,
Mm-hmm.
and listening to people and see how they react, and all the stories and the ways people are, and the weirdness and their eccentricities and their flaws and their reactions and all. I was one of those actors who just constantly loved the idea of how people psychologically and emotionally behave and react.
And what did your parents think of this?
I think my father came to terms with it. One day he was just sitting for breakfast, but he's like, "So where did you learn acting? Did you learn it somewhere?" I was like, "No, I just watched a lot of films." He said, "Oh, okay, that was it."
Oh, you're lucky you.
They have sort of not owned it completely because of my background. My family hasn't, but they're really respectful enough to let me continue and pursue it how I may now. So
Mhm.
But what's it like when you go home, when you back to the areas that you were born in? Do the locals recognize you? Do they say, "Oh wow, she's an actress"? Or
some of them do now, and they'd ask me, "So how's it going?" And I always assume for some reason that if I'm in public without makeup, people won't recognize me, and I'm always wrong. And when I go back home, people wouldn't watch me on TV, and I'm wrong on both accounts. So it's always like, "Oh, so you do watch TV?" I was like, "Yeah, it's okay." I just play it off. I was like, "Yeah, it's just a job, it's fine." Because when I'm at home, I just am myself. My mother still thinks that, I could be the laziest person in the world, and I'm not a star, and I need to go make salad when I need to, and that's it.
you're still a human, right? But I
Still,
suppose
very
coming
much.
in.
Believe you me, I think, yeah, it's very grounded at home, very grounded. I think it's a very Pathan thing to be so grounded.
I was gonna say, like, coming back to what Raj's line of thoughts are, you're from this, not your family. Your family is very liberal, but the area that you came from was very regressive, as you said. And there's obviously parts in India as well as Pakistan that you see those communities like that. And now all of a sudden you're going out there doing everything that is not the norm for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, a slight tension within that because that can get quite nasty, I can imagine.
But so far, to touch wood, it hasn't. I think this is why I downplay it so much, because I don't want the extra attention from it. I think that's why. And I don't visit very often. I
Yeah.
had to go after years because my father passed away, and it was uh, it was just very downplayed. I don't really talk about my work. I don't act like I'm an actress. I don't do that anyways, but especially when I'm back home, I just like it to be a safe territory. And I think it prevents me from taking up a lot of jobs as well. Like I would love to do an item song because I think it's fun, but I can't do it. I was like, oh, there's somebody in my town's gonna watch it, and they'll be like, oh my god, what is she doing? Is this how she became an actor? Oh god. So it's one of those things. I mean, I'm not saying I would like to do it. I just don't take it seriously. But I'd be like, okay, so that can be a factor at back of your head that you have an audience back home thinking there's almost like a responsibility to make sure that you're doing work that is more with a lot of integrity.
So it brings me to my question: what kind of roles have you been playing, Hajra, and how much control? What roles have you been playing, and what control do you have in taking those parts or rejecting
But
them?
Rajesh, as an actor, especially how the process is, there's very little control of what you get offered. So you have to pick the best that you can make the best out of, given that opportunity, which I decided years ago. It's like a lot of these people are not going to support me. They're going to give me roles to other people that I know I can do a great job at, but whatever they give you, make the best out of it. Make sure you give it your 110%. And I think it's probably the only reason. I've done a lot of, like in Pinky Mapesap, I played a bar dancer who, in Dubai, is a small role. It's on Netflix, and nobody was willing to do that. And they
What's it
couldn't find
called?
it.
Sorry.
Pinky Mapesap. It's an independent Pakistani film made in Dubai. It won an award at the Asian Films, I think, in the UK as well. So a lot of people who weren't willing to do those roles or something. There's a horror super hit TV series that I did, and somebody who's very evil, and it was a horror film. I was like, oh my god, horror film and Pakistani TV, don't. And then I decided to do it because I was like, nobody else is gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it for the right reasons. And then I played a gay woman on Pakistani TV as well. And my writer was very nervous about that. But it's done very subtly, but it still got a bit backlash. So I've done things that I knew my best way to fight back was not to do it for the sake of doing it, but organically when it felt right. And so I've done some things like the seductress from the bar dancers to something that I'm doing now, which is getting a lot of acclaim. I've never done. And I played a 50-year-old woman who's willing to buy babies who are swapped in hospitals. I've done all of stuff that was really different to me because I knew there were people who didn't want me to do well and they had their own people to promote. So I thought I'll make a niche for myself.
It feels like almost 50 Shades of Hajra, right? You're like a 50-year-old woman that's kind of selling up little kids. Yeah. And the other side, you're in the horror thing. Yeah, that's interesting. It's really weird because like Kuli and I, we always talk. And for me, it's acting world is on that side. We're on this side. We go out there. But it's the more you talk, the more you realize actually just deeply human. Everything that you do is deeply human. But the difference is you guys are watched 24 hours a day. All of a sudden now you kind of stood up as social custodians for the world. You wouldn't do that with any other profession, but yet somehow it's...
Yeah, we inadvertently signed up for it and you go, well, when did I sign up for that? Oh, okay.
Rajesh, if you knew that this is what you signed up for, would you still have done it? Because you've done plays and everything else and everything that you've done has been incredible, but you're so understated. But now you've entered the world of social media, where you have to be watched, where every single point that you make is plastered across South Africa, if not the world.
I would come at it more responsibly, more aware, more prepared for it. I think we're still in the beginning days of social media, I think, although it's out for a few years now, we're still learning, what this is about. First of all, we thought it was about communication. We thought it was about freedom of speech, about articulating your politics or your personal politics or your gender politics. But you realize that it's a far more dangerous place than just expressing an opinion. It's not a gray area. It's a binary of this or that. You're either for or against, and very, very little in the way of debate. Also, I think what's really interesting, and Hajra, maybe you have something to say, there's a lot of money to be made in social media. So the more people can stay in the geography of social media, the more money is being made by somebody. And the more content that is out there, is how you're going to get people interested, content, etc. So I think if I was starting off now as an actor and I could have seen what has happened before, I would say I'd be more prepared. I'd treat it for what it is. It's more bubblegum than it actually is really real. But then again, so much of your success now depends on it. Who likes you? Who's on your Twitter following? I just read a ridiculous article this morning about a writer, and somebody said something about the writer, and the article says, and she got 3,000 likes and was shared by 1,200 people. I've never seen such an article in my life in a mainstream newspaper where they're saying, look, this is what's happening. Is that the way we're going to write articles? Is that the way we're going to cast actors? Because I know in this country that some people are getting cast based on how much social media following they have.
Yeah, same with Pakistan. That's a problem. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's one of the biggest problems right now.
If you've got 1 million people liking you, oh, let's put her, because at least we know 1 million people are going to go listen to your TV show or your serial. So this is the case. Wow. And I came from the theater. We never cared about this. We were just trying to get in the damn newspaper. And hopefully somebody on your street reads it. Now somebody in Iceland can read it, in a matter of seconds. So it's a very different world. And I think we're just starting to wake up to this.
Yeah.
Well, I think on that note, that in itself is another conversation for sure. It's like having a look at the shifting sands of the world of work, because it's like all of a sudden you're judged on everything. You're a celebrity, and as a celebrity, then you make money, but you're not making money based upon your own hard work. And I think that's where we're going to start seeing a shift. People's attention. I think you pointed on one thing, and I'd love to get you back on again for this, is that idea of, as a general public, have we now, because there's almost a catharsism out there, are we venting our pressures, our stresses, and the lack of on the wrong people? Because I think that's where things are kind of shifting. Is it the actors at fault, or is it the society? Is it society? Is it the politicians? And I think that's something really interesting because, you know, when people can start almost getting into grip on their own lives and saying, actually, this is why I'm angry. This is who I'm really angry at. It kind of eases the vents on those who are almost caught in the crossfires, so to
Yeah.
speak.
I just want to share a tiny little story. I remember having a drink with two sisters that were lawyer. I went to somebody's house and they were lawyers, and they were around my age, and they were both big soap opera watchers. And when I arrived, I was an actor, and I was in awe of them, but they seemed to be in awe of me. And and then we were talking about stuff, and I said, I really do like a simple life. I don't like to, talk about this stuff. And the one was adamant. She says, no, you signed up for it. You should know what you signed up for. And as a celebrity, people are going to come and they want to know what you're about, and you signed up for it. And I remember getting very angry about that. No, I actually didn't sign up for this. And why do I owe you my life just because I'm an actor? Why do I owe you every part of my life that I'm
Absolutely.
going to behave the way you want me to behave?
Yeah, it's almost like they think you're almost like this puppet that they own. And remember when COVID started, I remember reading I think it was a quote or a meme or something. It's like, so in your darkest hour, you turn around to actors, musicians, writers, as usual. It's always the arts, it's always the music, it's always the books, it's always the poetry that is going to save people from everything. And to think to have such a disrespectful attitude towards it generically is not on. Nobody signed up for that. You could not like me. You could not like Rajesh. You could not like a lot of the films that we make. You could like some films that we do. But to have such a disrespectful attitude towards the craft and the arts, which is so important, because without that, we'd be nothing. We'd be nothing without that.
Yeah.
What a fantastic conversation. I'm sure you agree. I think what was remarkable for me is that you have an individual like Hajra in Pakistan, Rajesh in South Africa, both within a very similar entertainment industry, both suffering and feeling the same consequences and those dramatic shifts that are taking place. Incredible conversations. Now, if you'd like to touch base with us and find out more, obviously you can reach out via social media. We have our Instagram account, which is at the Nazrans or the Global Indian Series, as well as that within YouTube. So you can quickly type in the Global Indian Series or the Global Indian Podcast, and you'll see our logo and all the content that we created. There you can browse through the catalogue of conversations so far. And importantly, touch base with us and share with us your stories, things that have taken place with you. Because together we get to create a living encyclopedia of the human experiences of being people like us around the globe. It's never been done before, and it can only be done with your help and your support. So until next week, until we hear from each other, I hope all remains safe. I hope all remains wonderful. And importantly, let's take some action points of what people like Hajra and Rajesh spoke about. Let's have a new perspective of what our life means. And more importantly, at times of COVID, where I know self-isolation is taking place for many of you around the globe, let's reconsider the celebrity status that we give to people and really start looking at the crafts that go in behind those scenes. I hope you enjoyed this session. Look forward to touching base with you next week. Bye for now.